Hello, I'm Alix.
I'm Kelly.
And this is the LaJoy Podcast. Thank you so much for coming, Kat and Katie, back to our the LaJoy Podcast. We are really excited for this Fun Friday where you're going to share with us 3 books that have had an impact on your life or that were influential or that you always recommend. So just 3 really important books to you. So let's dive right in.
Okay, so I'll go first, I guess. First 3, The Princess Bride by William Goldman. 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. That's the one I recommend, I think, most often to most people because I feel like it's kind of got a good scope. And then can I choose all of the books in Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas? All of them.
Yes.
But if I had to choose one, and I struggle to remember the title of the one where this happens because I get the titles in my head mixed up. The one with the 13 and the Witch Tower. What is that one called?
Isn't that Kingdom of Ash?
Yes. So the final book in the series. Yes. Okay. So I want to go back. Don't ruin anything for Zach behind the scenes. He's reading them right now.
I didn't. I was very vague.
You were vague enough. You did a good job.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to go back. What do you love about The Princess Bride? Because this one comes up for a lot of authors.
Yeah.
And it's also one of my favorites. So I would love to kind of know a little bit more.
It was a big inspiration for Twin Crowns. Like, absolutely. And I feel like if you're comping yourself to Princess Bride, it's like a pretty big statement. But I think we delivered. You know, I think Rose in particular has some real Buttercup energy. And Shen is basically like a mashup of Wesley and also the fox from Robin Hood Fox.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I just love kind of like that unashamed fairy tale-esque nature of it. I mean, it's just like the vibes are so pure. And I think it's kind of like eternally good in the way that I feel like some books you read when you're younger and then you read again. Like, for example, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That is sparse. I read that again recently. It's like 25,000 words. Whereas I think The Princess Bride has this kind of classic feel to it that it's always inspiring to me and it feels like coming home. So kind of the best way I can describe it. And also I think it feeds into a lot of my writing, in particular Twin Crowns.
It's really funny as well, which is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It's funny also. And I think the reason it's so important to me, and I wanted to mention it, is because it was a huge cornerstone of inspiration for Twin Crowns in particular. And another book that Katie and I bonded over in the early stages of our friendship. So it's sort of important on many
I really want my brother Jack and Kat to cosplay Buttercup and Wesley because they look like them. So
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Next holiday card. There it is.
Yeah.
For real. And then with the Throne of Glass series, was it just this epic fantasy world in general that you were so inspired by?
Yeah, because, growing up, I loved Lord of the Rings. Like, I love the epic fantasy of Lord of the Rings. And I also love books like Outlander, like we were talking about, and that sort of swoony romance. And I think what Sarah J. Maas does really brilliantly in Throne of Glass, in particular, is she marries kind of that sort of epic sense of adventure and world building with really authentic and beautiful romance and supreme sexual tension. And I think there's just something about that it's just, it's magical to me. And it's one of those books that I think I've cried at every book in that series. So it's impossible to separate in my head. I just think it's the closest to perfect series I've ever read, actually, now that I'm talking about it out loud. Yeah.
I was like, I just completely echo everything you say.
I know we talk about this controversy. There's a bit of a controversy with ACOTAR versus Throne of Glass.
Yes.
In our readership, people really.
Yeah, I love both, but I'm a Throne of Glass stan. Yeah, that would be my number one. But, I love ACOTAR as well.
It's because you're truly enlightened.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We know. We see.
Yeah.
I was a Throne of Glass girly first, and then ACOTAR. I read it when I was pregnant with my first baby, and I couldn't do any. I was so sick. I had really bad morning sickness, and all I could do, I couldn't watch TV, I could do anything, but I could read those books. I read the trilogy. It was before the novella had come out, and before Silver Flames, like maybe 4 times. It was literally all. I just like entered the zone where the only thing I could do, but I was so nauseous and so sick. And so those books became like very, kind of like when you read a book, it'll make it like more important to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I kind of came
Yeah.
out of this haze. And I still love the books, but I was like, wow, that was wild.
I know we talked about this before when we started our company. Queen of Shadows had just released, as well as A Court of Mist and Fury, which we always argue are her two best books in the series. And that's what we talked about for like 3 days straight, were those characters in those books, because I think I was leaning a little more towards A Court of Mist and Fury and Resend, and you were like, Rowan.
And I was like, but Rowan exists.
And so
Yeah. Yeah.
so I felt they're both fantastic.
It's a great conversation to have. Lots of great options there.
Okay, so Katie, tell us, let's go switch to your books, but I feel like you both are very symbiotic in your book list, so I'm sure we'll hear a little bit.
Yeah, I really love, and this is one, I don't know if you've actually read A Wrinkle in Time yet, but I always say A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine.
I have read A Wrinkle in Time. I was a child. once. I have read it. I saw the movie.
I know. I want the movie to be good. I was like, it's got so many people that I love. It has Reese Witherspoon. It has Oprah. Like, it should have been amazing. And anyway, it's fine. I think Chris Pine is in it. But I loved that book. I used to just reread it. And I loved that it was this girl having an adventure. I loved the explored the universe. I'm more of a fantasy girl than a sci-fi girl, and that's kind of a little bit more sci-fi, but it was really fantastical too. So A Wrinkle in Time, I always say I love it so much that at my wedding we gave it out as gifts, like wedding favors to the guests. Everyone got a copy of A Wrinkle in Time. So that's a book that's very, very special to me, and really kind of influenced me in a huge way. And it's about like a brother and sister relationship, and I'm very close with my brother, and just so much that I love about it. And then I absolutely loved the Alana books by Tamora Pierce. Those got me into fantasy, and they really kind of like live with me. I remember them so well, even though I've not done a reread in absolute years. And that really influences the kind of writing that I do, especially in kind of YA fantasy. And then we mentioned a little bit, but I love Laini Taylor and Daughter of Smoke and Bone. Really kind of changed me as a reader and a writer in a really good way. Just what Laini can do with language, and just those, kind of the epic storytelling that she was doing. And I know I can only do 3, but I had to do a shout out for Outlander too, because I also loved Outlander when I read it.
Yes.
I love, first of all, that you gave out books as a party favor for your wedding.
Amazing.
At my wedding, I know, I remarried in 2022, maybe. I don't know. It went so fast. I'm very happily married. And at my wedding, it was a bookish floral wedding. So books just down all the tables with flowers. It was really so pretty. And had a beautiful book arch. Like, I'll send pictures. But my wedding favor was like impressionist paintings of the English countryside. And like I know, like the whole British Isles. So I was like, you're giving out books. And I was like, and here's paintings of my homeland.
Like, you had the wedding that I, wish I would have thought to had 20 years ago.
Oh, I know,
so I was
I
like,
know.
thank you for doing that for the both of us.
Yeah.
This is about me.
Love
my
that.
God.
Kat got married in Maui still in 2022. Kat, right? You get married in 2022? Yeah, married in 2022.
Yeah,
July 2022, and it was an extremely beautiful wedding. And I had, so I was like, oh, this is not my wedding, but I'm taking credit for it.
Katie, in her speech, called herself the architect of the wedding. Correct.
This is amazing. I'm like, first of all, thank you so much for coming and doing a Fun Friday with us. And everybody read Twin Crowns, incredible series, so fun, and recommended to all readers like 12 and up. They are beautiful. And then you can check out, I believe we have some copies in our store, or we just recently did something. I'm like, we're never on top of our shop schedule ever. Like, we don't run that, and we are awful. So
maybe sold out. Maybe you have extras, but I know that
I think it's sold out.
Fielding questions about it. I'm like, you have to go to their website. But oh my goodness, shout out for the gorgeous LitJoy editions. I have them. They're so pretty.
Yes.
I know.
We love them so much. They're so beautiful.
Thank you, reader, for listening to this episode of the LitJoy podcast. Please remember to rate and review us.
And like a good book, recommend us to your friends.